This episode will only contain generic information about the series. There will be no training-specific information. If you are not interested in that, feel free to jump to the first actual episode of the series. If you want to get a quick look at what cutting training actually is, I recommend that you go and watch the How to Cut with a Longsword in 15 Minutes episode. The link is in the description. If you are new to sharp swords and cutting, I recommend that you take a look at my generic cutting related videos, more specifically the Handling Sharp Swords and Safety episode and the 2 tatami related episodes, Preparing Tatami for Cutting and Cutting and Reading Tatami. The links to those 3 are in the description. If you are already comfortable with handling sharp swords and cutting, or you are not interested in cutting tatami in the first place, you should go and watch the episodes Recipe for Successful Cuts and Why and How to Train Cutting. Those 2 episodes contain some very important training principles. If you are not interested in any of that, just jump to episodes 1 or 3 of this series. But before you do that, go and skip to the What does the series contain section of this episode. There I will explain about the first few episodes of the series, and then you can decide if you want to jump to episode 1 or episode 3. So who am I and why should you listen to me? My name is Eetu Röpelinen and I've been doing Lichtenauer style longsword since late 2014. I'm also a longsword instructor at EHMS in Helsinki, Finland. In my fencing and teaching, I place a heavy emphasis on good body mechanics and martial use of the weapon, and that is a big reason for why I'm making this series. When it comes to teaching, I only teach what I personally do. I only tell people to do things I've tried myself and found useful. I don't just read a post online and assume it must be correct because it was written by someone famous. I try things out, and if they don't work, I try to figure out why they don't work and if I can actually make them work. In my opinion, understanding why something does not work is more important than knowing something works and not understanding why. In addition to teaching and training, I also compete. I have competed internationally in longsword for multiple years. In addition to that, I've taken part in the cutting competition in HLO for multiple years. For some of my placements, I won the cutting competition in HLO 2020 and I came 3rd in the Fehtera Basic Longsword in 2019. I also placed 3rd in HLO 2020 Longsword Bait Technique and HBO 2018 Side Sword Cutting competitions. I'm presuming that everyone watching this wants to learn to cut in a martial application. That doesn't mean that other people couldn't benefit from this. That is just the audience I have in mind when designing the content for this series. This series is basically for anyone who is interested in using a longsword, whether you want to cut water bottles at your backyard, or want to cut in HEMA competitions, or just want to do HEMA in a hobby sense, or maybe you are someone doing research on using longswords. Proper body mechanics help to prevent injuries, and they also help you to use your sword in a more effective manner. Because of this series can be also very useful for those who are just doing HEMA for fun or doing HEMA in competitive sense. This series is teaching specifically longsword use, but the basic body mechanics and basic theory can also be applied to other bladed weapons, especially those used in 2 hands. As you are clearly still watching, now is a good time to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have any questions, go and pop them down into the comment section and I'll see what I can do about them. The aim of this series is not only to teach you to cut, but also to self-learn how to cut. This means that I'm not only teaching you what to do, but also explaining why to do it. Of course, I'll be also telling what to do, but there is a lot of time used to explain why it is done. If you understand why things are done, it is easier to understand if you are doing something wrong and what you are actually doing wrong. It also allows you to learn techniques I'm not specifically teaching you to do. Understanding what you are supposed to do and why you are supposed to do it, and having a good teacher is the best thing you can have. As this is clearly a YouTube series, the second best thing is to understand what to do and why to do it. If you can get a good teacher, go and get one. Obviously, it is the best thing to have. The first part, episodes 1 and 2, contain the basic body mechanics and cutting theory, which is then going to be used in the following episodes. A fair warning, these 2 episodes are very heavy in theory. I highly recommend that you watch them, but if you really don't want to, go ahead and skip to episode 3. If you decide to skip to episode 3, you will be missing a great deal of the why part of this series. However, if you just want to cut recreationally, that might be the correct decision for you. If you want to cut competitively, or you want to minimize the risk of injury, I highly recommend that you take the time to watch the first 2 episodes. The second part, episodes 3 through 6, explains the basic cuts and thrusts which are more or less universal for all longsword styles. The third part, episodes 7 through 9, is for more advanced topics such as stepping and transitions. The fourth part, episodes 10 through 12, goes through the specialty cuts in the German longsword system. This is done to explain how to adapt the basic theory for more advanced techniques. The fifth part, episodes 13 and 14, explains the basic short edge cuts. There might be a 7th part if I find the need for one. It would be a Q&A and or updates to the existing material. In addition to that, there are 5 generic cutting related episodes, some of which I have already mentioned in this episode. Those episodes contain generic information about sharp swords, tatami as a cutting medium, and generic training principles. I highly recommend that you go and watch them before you start with the series. That is all for this time. I hope to see you in the first proper episode of this series. Before you go and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and click the bell icon so you get notified when new episodes for this series are released. See you next time.